Hello everybody, this is a video essay that's a continuation from my podcast project, and it's going to show the effect that the replacement NFL refs had on football, this football game in particular, on the fans, and on the sport as a whole. Let's take a look.
I think ridiculous was the first word that came to mind. I don't understand how the NFL is letting it go this far. And what if that would have been the Super Bowl or another really important game? It could have lasting impacts on playoff position, home field advantage. And I think really just utter disappointment and shock. There were no words for what happened. If the NFL could overturn the win-loss, I think they should. I don't think that that's a possibility, but I think that they hopefully will now take this replacement ref situation seriously and actually do something about it before somebody gets really hurt or before another huge call is blown like that.
I think,
This was just an example of one fan, but there are many unhappy fans. Let's check out the expert analyst on ESPN's opinion on the call and what it was doing to the game.
This discussion about how this is affecting the game, how it's affecting people's appreciation of the game, and people's respect of the game. What now, guys?
What do you say?
Football, to me, the NFL had gained a revered place legitimately and rightfully amongst anybody, other leagues or any other professional sports or anywhere. It was revered for a reason. There's a gamble that was made to try to, labor negotiations to do this, and the gamble is obviously lost, but it loses even more than just how they get settled with the real referees. This is now kind of the disaster. The ultimate disaster is a game was on the brink one way or another, and I think that they'll try to defend it, the call, simultaneous catch, but everybody senses it, that this is now affecting absolutely the competitive landscape of the NFL, and it brings it down.
And you get so frustrated with incompetence that it turns to anger, right? In life, we get frustrated with stuff and it turns to anger. And I'm angry because it insults, the NFL's insulted my intelligence. It's insulted your intelligence and yours. Everybody here, everybody watching the game, because they're trying to tell us it's not that big of a deal. Well, we have a billion-dollar machine. I mean, hundreds of billions of dollar machine, the NFL. Multi, whatever. Billions. At
least 50.
And we're letting this ruin it. It's tearing at the fabric of the game. And you don't hear Drew Brees, maybe the classiest guy in the NFL, come out and say what he said today, unless it's a colossal issue, a catastrophic type situation. Players have never tweeted and done stuff in rebellion to how angry they are. We said it last week, for 10 years, this commissioner's office has been coming into these NFL locker rooms saying we will do anything to protect the shield. Anything. We're going to go, and we're exhaust every opportunity to protect this brand.
Every one of us were all in.
It's ironic that you, the NFL, is what's screwing this brand up right now.
And what we're doing here is a microcosm of what everyone is going to be doing, and that is we're not even talking about the football game. We're not talking about Russell Wilson as a rookie winning this game. We're talking about...
Well, it's unfortunate. It is one of the great defensive efforts that I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
I actually love this game. This defensive effort by the Seattle Seahawks was one of the great maulings that I've ever seen. That includes the Ravens, that includes the Patriots, that includes everybody else. All-time, 4 guys mauled the Packers. It was awesome.
The record books will show that Golden Tate caught his second touchdown pass from his quarterback, Russell Wilson.
Okay, so that clip showed how the analysts felt on ESPN, and they pretty much spoke for most of the fans and most of the people that are associated with football, and that they felt frustrated and that it was kind of insulting that the NFL refs were not there and that the replacement refs were there. And this clip is on SB Nation, which is a show, and it talks about the mishaps that the refs had and shows a bunch of them, and I'll let you listen.
But you have to do the conversion before the 2-minute warning, even at 1:58.
Basically, it screwed the Steelers out of a timeout.
I can explain this one pretty easily. A lot of people really taking the replacement refs to task, but I would say it's tampering by big stopwatch. You've heard of big pharma, big oil? Big stopwatch, tampering with the refs. It all makes sense. Go back and follow the money. Follow the seconds.
So not the refs' fault?
Not the refs' fault.
Okay, understandable. Up next, the Redskins got a first down for what was in effect 9 yards of offense. There was a penalty on 4th and 6. That was a 5-yard penalty, and somehow 9 yards were good enough for a first down.
Well, 9 yards is really good. Like, if you think about it, a 9-yard play, you're driving 9 yards on a couple plays, you'll take that. And they say the yellow line is not an absolute first down. So it's all up in the air. It's open to interpretation. I appreciate the refs going at this sort of with an open mind. So good, 9 yards, pretty good. It's pretty good, you guys.
I'm not sure if that'll hold up in referee court.
That's what my mind is at.
Up next, another mess up was losing an entire minute of the Broncos Steelers game after a challenge flag. The referees just let the clock run and didn't reset it, so the game was only 59 minutes long.
Yeah, this wasn't okay. There's no excuse for this. So the replacement refs have made good on fessing up to their mistakes. Next week, both the Steelers and the Broncos are getting a rollover minute in their next games. Week 2 is going to be great. 16-minute third quarters.
Oh, they have like a sprint plan or something like that?
It's a terrific plan. It's a new contract. They'll be terrific.
And then this is really egregious. Randall Cobb ran a punt back for a touchdown in Green Bay. The refs threw the flag because there was a pretty noticeable block in the back. Then they picked it up and were like, JK, LOL, there wasn't a penalty.
There is no foul for a block in the back.
Could have really influenced that game.
Right. There is really no explanation. The screw up that the refs had was they started crowdsourcing what the call should be on Twitter. And honestly, that just takes forever. And so they kept going back and forth. They really couldn't get a right answer. All sorts of people were trolling the refs on Twitter. Everything got screwed up. That was on them.
That actually explains why those ref huddles are taking so long.
Yes, the LOL JK actually makes sense in this context.
And in one of the more confusing plays from Sunday, the Seahawks got, in essence, an extra timeout. They should have been charged a timeout with an injured player on the field with 42 seconds left. Then the refs told Pete Carroll, no, you still have one timeout left.
So he thought,
they gave him. And then they gave kind of a BS explanation for it.
Seattle did have a timeout to use. Their third timeout was a result of an incomplete pass followed by an injury. The clock was not running. They were not charged with that timeout. This is their third and final timeout.
Right. They covered their tracks really poorly.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, as a Seahawks fan, are you okay with this?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so there you go. That's go ahead and keep making mistakes as long as they're for our teams. We do have an apocalypse coming when the refs finally blow a game and the team that should have lost wins.
Right.
Could be next week. Could be soon. Let us know your thoughts about the replacement refs in the comments. I'm sure they're all positive. And subscribe to SB Nation for more on the NFL. We'll see you soon.
Scatter tracker.
Okay, so that video is kind of a comical analysis of what the refs were doing, but it's still a good example because they actually did show all the mishaps that the referees had, and that might have seemed a lot, but that was just 1 week where the refs, that was 1 week's example of the refs' mistakes. And like they said, an apocalypse would be coming if the refs blew a game, and that happened the next week in the clip we showed earlier with the Packers versus the Seahawks when they blew a touchdown call at the end of the game. The effect that this had on views and on the fans wasn't really very extensive, unfortunately. The NFL knew that the fans' ratings wouldn't go down and that they would still be able to carry on with the NFL regularly, but it's insulting to the fans because the fans are the reason that the NFL is able to have such a power, is able to be such a powerful sport. They're the reason that they're the most watched sport in America. They're the reason that they make $9.9 billion in TV revenue alone. And for the NFL to take advantage of the fans and not use the real refs is really unfair, and it's not what the fans deserve. Now, this might seem a little bit outdated because the NFL regular referees have been back for several weeks now, and they've come to an agreement with the NFL, and their replacement refs have been gone since week 4. And, well, as a matter of fact, since after the game with the clip earlier that I showed you with the Packers and Seahawks. But what bothers me is how in 3 sports there have been 4 lockouts in the past 2 years. Starting with the NBA, they had a shortened season last year because the players who were in the union and the NBA commissioner and owners couldn't come to a deal, so they had a compromised about 20 games during the season. The NFL had a lockout last year that put the season in jeopardy. The NFL had this referee lockout that, even though it didn't miss any games during the season, it kind of made the games that were being played less valid because of the controversial calls that the referees were making. And lastly, there's a current NHL lockout that's going on that looks like it's going to force the NHL 2012-2013 season to not happen because they haven't been able to come to an agreement, and the season should have already started by now. So what I'm trying to say is that it's really unfair for what the leagues do, and they have very selfish intentions because the fans are what makes the sports go, and the fans are who deserve the sport, and they deserve it in its entirety and the way it should be. I hope you enjoyed my video essay. I hope it was insightful, and thanks a lot for listening.